This is KTVO's Good Morning Heartland.
Welcome back. As we've already heard, it's going to be a scorcher out there today, and with the heat comes risk for heat-related injuries. Now, today we have Dr. Justin Puckett here this morning to discuss what we need to watch out for and what we can do to prevent heat stroke and exhaustion. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So, first of all, tell us the difference between heat stroke and heat exhaustion.
Well, we've all experienced heat exhaustion. That's that point when we're outside, we're sweating profusely, and we kind of get that sense of, gosh, I need to find some shade, I need to get something to drink, I might even want to pour some water over my head. That overheating, that I'm getting really hot feel is heat exhaustion. It's common. But it can go ahead and extend on to heat stroke. And heat stroke is once that heat level has passed the mark of kind of no return, where the body almost gives up on its ability to try to cool, and our temperature then goes ahead and rises. And heat stroke is certainly a life-threatening emergency.
Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at heat stroke. How might we know that we actually have heat stroke? What are some of the symptoms?
Well, the medical definition of heat stroke is a temperature that's greater than 100.5. But people with heat stroke will start to develop a throbbing headache. They become dizzy and lightheaded, and that can happen with heat exhaustion too. But really the difference is whenever we start to have a lack of sweating. And so we're out in the heat, we were sweating, we realize, gosh, now we're not sweating. And others will even touch us and notice that our skin is red and hot and feels quite warm. A lot of times because the heat's building up, our muscles don't do well, and so our muscles start to ache and hurt. We become nauseous. We might even feel our heart beating fast, and you can even go on to have seizures and even become unconscious.
Okay, so let's say that we're experiencing some of these symptoms, or maybe somebody next to us is. What should we do?
Well, very first thing, remove yourself or that person from the heat.
Okay.
And then you want to get that person in as cool of an environment as you can. Sometimes that's under a shade tree. Sometimes that's in an air-conditioned area. Having any sort of fanning of air across can help because that's going to move the air and help transfer the heat away. And then you also want to try to cool the body if possible. So removing any excess clothing, and then taking cold packs if available, even if it's just a cold water bottle out of the cooler or a cold towel or an ice pack. And you want to put those ice packs around the neck, around the armpits, and in the groin. There's lots of blood vessels that are closer to the skin there, and so you can kind of cool the body from the inside out that way by cooling the blood as it circulates around. And then, of course, very first thing that you should do anytime you suspect heat stroke is call 911. You don't want to really worry about temperatures, about whether or not to instigate care or not. You want to just get that cooling going as soon as possible.
Okay. Now, is there a type of group that is at a higher risk of developing heat stroke?
Anybody that's got chronic health conditions that they may not accommodate the heat as well. The elderly, especially because many of them spend time in environments that aren't cool. Maybe they only have one room in their house that's air conditioned. Right. And sometimes we don't notice that whenever we get hot over a long period of time slowly, we don't appreciate the effect that it's having on us.
Right.
Infants can become, their body size is so much smaller, they can overheat more quickly. And then even if you're taking certain medications, even simple over-the-counter medications can cause you to overheat.
Okay. Now, what about if somebody's already had a heat stroke? Do they have a higher chance of reoccurring heat strokes, or
They do. Once someone's had a heat stroke, most of the people who've had a heat stroke will have a lower tolerance for the heat.
Okay.
So they have to drink more water frequently, and they may even just kind of start to get some of those more ucky symptoms with their heat exhaustion, or just without being in the heat, where they start to get a headache easier, they start to get a little nauseous easier, and that's just the body's way of saying, hey, we had a close call once, let's not do that again.
Okay. All right. So very important to keep in mind. I know that today is going to be a hot one, and then we're going to have a cool down, but yet again, it's still summertime, so temperatures are going to be heating up once again. Great reminders to keep in mind and safety tips. What we'll do is we'll post everything on our website at ktvo.com, and we'll link up information with Dr. Puckett if you have any questions or concerns. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.